All right, I think I'm live. Um, Hi, welcome to the channel. This is Tabletop Bob. My name is Bob. I'm here doing some Dungeon Master prep. And yeah, this is all new. This is the first time I'm doing a live prep session here, but I think it's going to be pretty good. It is for the finale to the Descent into Avernus campaign, which we've been running for almost a year now, and we've been streaming on the channel. So if if you like this type of content, let me know in the comments. Give me a like. You can subscribe to the channel. Tomorrow we're going to be streaming our finale session, which is going to be quite long. We're starting at 10 a.m. Start at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be streaming. Really, it's going to be broken up into two parts, which we'll talk about in a second. But we're going to try to get it all done in one. Well, we're going to get it all done in one day, and I think the prep that I've already done to this point, I feel pretty confident that we can finish everything in kind of basically two sessions, maybe 2.5 to 3 hour sessions. We'll have a minor break in between to level up our characters one last time, and that's that. So let's jump right in. I'm going to switch over to the camera so you can see my screen. So coming up here, there's a few things that I guess I should explain sort of this process. This is a little different than what I would normally do to prep. This is the finale, so it's maybe more thorough than I would normally, plan for, and also feels a little more, I think, railroady or, kind of driving the story in one direction or the other, because it is the finale. The characters have to get to certain points, and they don't have as much freedom to. I shouldn't say they don't have as much freedom, because they basically chose the path they're on. It's not like I'm forcing them to go confront Zariel. It's what they really want to do. But I'm going to show a quick flow chart here that I've been creating over the week. And really, a lot of this stuff, it's not something I just sat down and wrote one day. Most of the ideas that came for this finale, I honestly been thinking about for months. Once I really understood like where the characters were going, and if their goal was to kill her or redeem her, which I really do think they're going to try to redeem her as best they can. And this kind of flow chart came from months of thinking about this and planning. But let's talk about where we are now. So if you watch the last 6 episodes or 5 episodes on the channel, you'll know that the group is at the door to the Bleeding Citadel. I'm going to assume that if you're watching this, you are running the channel as well, or running the campaign as well. I don't think that you should watch this if you're planning on either playing in the game or you're one of my players. So if you're one of my players, this is the time to leave. And if you're a person who might be playing this in the future, this is also the time to leave, because these are big spoilers. This is like the end of the campaign spoilers. Sorry, I didn't say anything earlier, but this could be big spoilers ahead. So I assume that you know a little bit about the story, and basically at this point, the group is getting the sword of Zariel, and they want to either redeem her or use it to kill her, perhaps. And that's where we're kind of at. They're about to get the sword. Now, last session, we didn't actually finish. It was like 11:15 p.m. here, and I was getting kind of tired. I think a good session is usually 2.5 to 3 hours. So we decided to call it before the final battle at the Bleeding Citadel. But we're going to finish up that quick combat quickly, I would hope. I don't think they're going to have a hard time fighting Trantalox, the Nalfeshni, but if it does end up taking a bit longer, then there's some ways I think I could speed that up. I could have them basically surrender. The book even suggests that the Nalfeshni would surrender and try to make a deal so that they could get the sword and claim it together or use it against Zariel. Might try to persuade them that it's in their best interest to leave him and his group alone. But I have a feeling they're going to make quick work of him. Now, the demons once they get past these demons guarding the door, Yael is going to Lulu will open up the door, and Yael, the ghost, will confront them and bring them into the flashback memory. Now, my group is actually going to be joined by an NPC, a player who's going to be running Archon the Cruel, the NPC. My friend CJ, he's going to be playing Archon because I think that they might need him in this part because they haven't taken a long rest in quite some time. And I do want them to fight. As you see here on the flowchart, they're going to fight Yinagu, which is, he's pretty powerful demon lord. And after a few rounds of combat, Zariel is going to come in and save them, kind of showing her, I guess, the honorable side, her good side. And this combat is all done in like a flashback sequence. I think that I'm going to modify the flashback sequence though, because I don't want it to take too long. I do want it to kind of get to that combat really quick, because we are going to have quite a bit to do after that. And then once they go to Idelglin, they're going to confront Yinagu and then get back out of the dream sequence and enter the Citadel. Now here's where it gets tricky. So one of the players in the group can claim the sword. According to the book, it says that basically, whoever chooses the sword is going to kind of have their personality, their sentience wiped. They're going to be kind of taken over by the sword. So this will be interesting to see who wants it, who's going to try to claim it, and I have a couple of ideas that we'll talk about later about who should get the sword. They're also going to get the effect of a long rest, which I decided to have happen after Idelglin because I want that combat to be really challenging. Them to spend all their spells thinking that they're really screwed before they fight Zariel. And I am going to have Archon there to help them, so I feel like that might be okay. And actually, I should just explain why I'm going to have Archon there. The reason I'm going to have Archon there is because I think that he's going to be helpful in freeing Elturel. There's a sequence at the end of the book in chapter 5 that talks about Tiamat actually coming in to break the chains, and I think that might be the most realistic, surprisingly the most realistic way in our scenario to break the chains of Elturel. I don't think the players will be able to do that even if they have the sword. The way that I've set it up is that there's basically Zariel's force is going to overrun Elturel right now, so it's kind of a ticking clock. Archon can not only teleport them, I'm going to allow him to teleport the group with the Hand of Vecna to Elturel. And since Zariel's planning a big attack on the city, I don't think it would make sense for her to leave the chains unguarded. So I feel like there would be a quite large force at the chains. So I don't think that's going to be an option for them, realistically, to break the chains themselves. And so I wanted Archon to be there, not only one to teleport them to the city, because there is a ticking clock element, but also he'll be helpful in combat. And he's in it for kind of devious reasons. He wants to free Tiamat, and so he's obviously going to try to kill Zariel, maybe even turn on the group if they don't try to kill her. They did meet him earlier in the campaign, and they promised to kill Zariel, so he's kind of here to make sure his promise is kept. After someone claims the sword, we will have a break for leveling characters. My goal is to get this first part of the session done in about 2.5 hours. That would be ideal. I think this combat at the door might take about 45 minutes to an hour, and then I think the Idelglin sequence would definitely take an hour and a half, I think. I think that makes sense. There's going to be some small little roleplay elements, and then the big fight with Yinagu is going to take some time. So my goal is about 2.5 to 3 hours would be ideal. Kind of making this like a first session. If we were doing this all in separate sessions, that might be its own lead up to the finale, but we're going to do it all in one day. All right. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. So then after the break, the plan is to have the group create some sort of, strategy, way that they're going to get to the city, and way that they're going to stop Zariel. I think they all know that they're going to have to fight her at some point, but they're going to try to redeem her, and that's where this all gets really tricky. The book details a sequence for the finale. I'm not too crazy about it. The sequence is basically, a couple of generic checks they have to make. It's kind of like a poor attempt at a skill challenge where they all just make an attempt at each section here. I don't know if I want to run it that way. I was thinking about having it more intense and meaningful. So depending on the way that they choose to get to the city and get to the High Hall, which is where they believe the most resistance will be, and all of their friends and NPCs they've met before, like Raven Guard and Rhea, I think that's probably where they're going to go. And if they go there, that's where they'll confront Zariel and her forces. Now, if they end up going directly to the Citadel, or sorry, not the Citadel, the High Hall, then that's going to be going through the most enemies, and they're going to have the least amount of help. So I was thinking of having some sort of skill challenge or mix of skill challenge with attack rolls that they have to make to simulate the mass combat. So it'll be maybe like 3 to 5 attack rolls, and then a series of different skills that they'll all have to compete in, maybe survival, stealth, something like that. So I'm going to get typing the specifics out in just a minute, but that's where my thoughts are right now. And then once they get to the High Hall, they'll confront Zariel and have the big battle. So that's the hardest way to get there, which would be the most challenging, and I'd give them the most skill challenges, the most combat attacks that they'll need to make, and the penalty would be damage if they fail them. So they'd be taking damage from fighting. It would be, probably D10s for everyone they fail. And maybe some ways to mitigate the damage, but we'll talk about that more later. Then there's also an attempt to break the chains first. Like I said, unless they come up with something super creative, I don't think I'm going to allow the chains to be broken, but who knows, they might come up with something brilliant. If they happen to break the chains, then that would push the sequence of events kind of in fast forward, because I think the city would start to rise basically back to the Forgotten Realms, and then the battle has to be fought much quicker, and they'll have less time to turn Zariel. They could also sneak into the High Hall. So instead of going directly to there and just kind of hacking and slashing, if they decide to go in a stealthy way, they know that there's a secret entrance via the catacombs. They have been there before, and they went out that way when the first siege of the city was occurring, when they got to Elturel in chapter 3. And that would be the second most challenging option, because they're trying to skirt around the battle. Still some danger there. Then the other option would be to get some help. And I think the only real way that they can get help is to enlist the help of some demons. Now, in the book, it actually talks about Yunagu attacking the city as well. But in the beginning of the part of the Avernus aspect of this game, the city was being pulled down, and then abruptly had to stop being pulled down because the demons were fighting the devils in that blood war battle. So there was already demons there, and time is kind of weird in Avernus, but I still feel like the demons were just driven away. It would be weird to then automatically have another demon attack. I'll kind of let the players choose if they want to have the demon attack. If they were to go to the ossuary in the cemetery, they could release the demon Baphomet rather than Yunagu, and I think that would be more fitting, and it would be up to the player's decision to do that. And I think that could be clever. If they don't think of this on their own, I am going to have Archon suggest it. More like we need a distraction force, and they need to have somebody else other than us fight here. And then finally, that would be the easiest option. So if they do that, I'd reduce the amount of checks they need to make. So they'll come through less, they'll come through more at full power with less abilities burned if they have this big distraction of devils and demons having to fight each other. And then we get to the final combat, which the way I've kind of planned this out is that I don't know if the entire team is going to stick together. I've kind of planted seeds for disarray in the group. I don't know if they're going to take them all, but if the plan goes the way I think it is, there could be 4 sides in this battle. So Zariel is going to have her team. Because this battle is going to be crazy, I'm still on the fence about how many of these creatures to put in the battle and exactly who they're going to be fighting. And it may be a little confusing. So I'm taking initiatives for my players ahead of time, and I'm going to be listing out the possibilities of initiatives, and if we need to use them earlier. I have 3 roles they're giving me, so I'm going to create initiatives before the battle begins, so that way it'll speed up I think the game. And if it's not just 2 sides fighting, if there's really 3 factions fighting or 4 factions fighting, it would be unfair to do it in the way that we've been playing on the stream, which is, when it is the group's turn, anybody could go at any time. So I think initiative's going to be key. So there's Team Zariel, which includes Zariel herself, Olanthius, who they met earlier in the sessions, and the Vanthamper, Thalamra Vanthamper, who they haven't seen since they killed her in Baldur's Gate. I'm going to have her kind of reincarnated here as a Bone Devil. I think a lot of people, or maybe I'm wrong, but maybe the book had said she came back as a Pit Fiend, or maybe I read that somewhere, or it's in a secondary source, but I think a Bone Devil is going to be a little bit more reasonable to deal with. There's also the Gargoth, the Pit Fiend, in this battle, so I don't want to have just lots of Pit Fiends. Then we have Team Bell, who in our game I've had Bell plotting to overthrow Zariel, so at some point he may turn on Zariel. He will be on her side at the beginning, but then might strike at her at any moment. Bell's going to be in this battle, so is Gargoth, and the player that was holding Gargoth for this whole adventure, I want him to have a kind of conclusion to that storyline, and they fight. Gargoth's going to basically try to kill our paladin who had him for the whole time. And then Max, our Chain Devil, who's making deals with the group. He's on Team Bell, but he's technically on anyone's team. He would be looking to take over Avernus if Bell and Zariel were both dead. Then Team Demon, Baphomet, the Demon Lord, is a possibility in this battle. If there are no demons, I would just take him out of this. He's kind of the only wild card here, and I'd have him attack the team that is mostly winning. So if Team Bell looks like they're going to just stomp on everybody, I'd have Baphomet start attacking Bell and Gargoth. And then we have our heroes, who are accompanied by Archon. At the High Hall, they will be met by older Ravengard and Rhea, as well as Lulu, who's going to have her big moment where she transforms into a giant mastodon. So, yeah, and then I have I'm not sure if you can see it, actually. I kind of covered it with my camera. But Tiamat, maybe. I feel like I can't really put her into the battle. First off, it would be an aspect of Tiamat. If you have read Chapter 5 of the book, you know that it doesn't really make sense why Tiamat would actually be able to join this battle in any way. So I made it an aspect of Tiamat, that it's not her full form. She can't really escape the prison that's there. The whole reason why Archon even deals with the group is because he wants to free Tiamat. If she could free herself anyway, I'm not too sure why he would need their help. So anyway, now that's the basic structure of the game tomorrow, and I really hope that the group. I'm actually hoping the group can surprise me and throw some wrenches into the plan here, because if it goes all according to plan, that'd be too perfect. I do want the players to kind of think of some things, and who knows, maybe they'll come up with something that's even better than I could. Okay, so that's the way it is here. I wrote notes for my friend CJ, who's going to be playing Archon. I'm not going to read through these here because you'll kind of see in the game how it plays out. But I will say that this part actually helped me figure out exactly kind of where I wanted this to go. And I suggest you do this, especially towards the end of campaigns, is kind of think about the players' goals and what they want for their characters, because while you're not going to make everyone meet every goal that they had in the game, it's good to just keep those in mind and guide the structure of the finale with it. So I did this. I wrote out all our characters, what their motivations were in the game, what they might do in the finale. And there's a couple of ones I want to highlight here that might be important for planning in a few minutes. So we have Lucius, our cleric. He had a really interesting idea for a backstory, that he sort of has amnesia. He kind of knows who he is, but he doesn't know his background. he was sent to kill Zariel by these higher beings. I'm basically calling the overseers. They're going to be like a cosmic force, like maybe like the Q continuum, something like that, where they meddle in the fate of the universe. And when he does get to the Citadel, he's going to remember his past and how he hates his overseers, but he does their bidding because he feels like he has no choice. But then that's going to kind of spur him on to maybe redeem Zariel and go against his creators, or follow their orders and try to kill her. So I don't know what he's going to do. Then we have Hex. He's our tiefling warlock whose patron is Levistus. Levistus has kind of been trying to maneuver the group using Tim to do his bidding. He basically wants Hex to be the new ruler so that he can have a proxy in Avernus. I think Weir, our halfling bard, is going to be the person who tries to persuade Zariel. He has the best persuasion check in the group. He's typically the person who talks, so I think he's going to be the one trying to make her turn. Then we have Dasha, who's playing Eroviel, the half-elf ranger, who is currently evil, so I'm not too sure which side she's going to take, but Max has her soul, and I think she's going to probably do whatever Max tells her. And then we have Kolgath, our dwarf paladin, who is the one that had the shield of Gargoth. So in the finale, I really want Gargoth to seek him out in one-on-one combat. It'd be really cool to see him fight Gargoth, and if he could beat a pit fiend. And then we have Pete, played by Michelle, who's our rogue. Now, she doesn't have these grand overarching schemes in the game, but she's probably one of the most good characters that we have, and I think she will probably try to redeem Zariel, and she loves Lulu, so I'm thinking of having that kind of be a motivating factor. Wherever Lulu goes, she'll kind of follow. And then we have Christian, who's playing Caddis, the druid. He's also a good aligned character. The two of them are really the most good, and I think that he would probably want to redeem Zariel as well. And we've got Dobby, who I really have having a hard time figuring out what he's going to do. He's usually a team player, but I have a feeling he might go with whatever side might be winning. I don't know. I'm not too sure. He died earlier in the campaign, so maybe he's trying to play his characters if he just wouldn't want to die. I'm not too sure yet, but yeah. So Archon, yeah, just a couple of things that Archon might do. He might suggest things, and he'll definitely turn on the group if he needs to. If they attempt to redeem her, he will definitely turn on the group. And because of all of these things going on, I wanted to have somebody roleplay Archon, because he'll kind of guide the PCs, and with so much stuff going on, I didn't want to have to deal with playing on another role. So anyway, so before I start typing out some last bits of notes and some ideas, fleshing some things out, I just want to show the overlay that I have for tomorrow. So it's a new clean looking overlay that I'm pretty proud of. I've been trying to get these overlays to look as good as possible. So maybe one time I can do a tutorial on how to make these, but I've been learning a lot through various videos as well. And so we have 10 players, so 10 boxes. It's going to be nice and clean, the Roll20 straight in the middle. And that's it. So I'm really happy with the way this came out. The players will go in these boxes. In OBS, they will be clear. They're not going to be there. All right. So a couple things I need to do before tomorrow is I need to set up the combats and set up those things. I'm not necessarily going to do all of that on stream. I think that wouldn't be so conductive, but I'm going to put a few things together now because I have this. So this is the first battle. I got this map on Power Score RPG. It was one of the freebies for a map pack that they were selling. I believe the guy's name is Sean McGovern, if I'm correct. He does some really good stuff. He wrote guides for a lot of the official adventures on DM's Guild, and when I ran Curse of Strahd, his insight was so invaluable. It was really good. So I always like to give credit where it's due. This is his map. So let's talk about this. This is the first battle. So I'm going to set up. We have the Nalfeshni here, Trantalox. So I'm going to put him in there. This is the door to the Citadel. So I'm going to put him right at the door, but kind of to the side. Oh, and this is on GM view, isn't it? So let's get this to token layer. They're actually, the group is attacking right away at the start of the combat. We stopped right before they attacked. So this will be all visible to them. And then there was the Shadow Demon, who alerted the Nalfeshni, so this won't be a surprise. Oh, it keeps going to the GM. Oh, yeah, that's right. I have to switch it over after I move it. Okay, so he had informed the Trantalox that they're coming, and then there were 3 Bulazows who are making noise. They were clanging their heads on the door, trying to open it, but they cannot open it. Only Lulu can open this door, or a Celestial, so they're going to just be ramming their heads against it. So I'll put them here as if they're kind of just ramming their heads. But they're going to be prepared for the combat, and I'm going to have Archon join at the end of the combat from maybe this route, but the players are all here. When we start, I'll have them put their characters on the board. There's no need for light sources at this point. They are all casting light and going down. Okay, so let's move to a couple of different places. I set it up so that Edelglen will be next in the order here. So the Citadel entrance, and then Edelglen, and then the Cathedral. So those are the 3 maps I think I'm going to be using. Although in theory, I could be using the Ossuary map, or at least the Cemetery map. But I might not have to, so I'm not going to prepare that. That probably could just be done Theater of the Mind. And I'm going to have Gideon, since he is kind of turned towards Zariel in the storyline. I'm going to have him be like away from the cemetery participating. So just to speed things up, I don't want to have them confront Gideon, because then he would probably try to stop them. That would be another combat, and really 4 major combats in the game. I don't think we're going to finish nearly on time. So Edelglen is next. So Edelglen is good because it's all set up for you. It was the default setup from the Roll20 module. So the characters are going to show up. I believe they're going to show up on the west side, I think. Yeah, I think they show up right here where the number is L1. Now, the way that Edelglen is written in the book, Edelglen is basically a big skill challenge up to the combat with Yeenoghu. And like I said, I think I want to change that. I did not... When I was envisioning this, I was envisioning a massive swirl of combat around them as a village was being attacked. Maybe they would have some small reprieve before the big combat, but I didn't want it to be like they're here and this little action happens, then they move forward and this little action happens. I want it to be like a swirling battle that they see, and they see all the terrible things that these gnolls are doing, and then Zariel swoops in when it looks like all is lost. So I think I'm going to keep Yeenoghu here for sure. I'll keep the gnolls because I'm actually not going to move anything, because it looks like anything that is optional to enter in, like, you know, you've got Zariel's token here. She'll stay hidden. I'll still keep the sort of the events, but I'm going to put them all at the same time. So the giant hyena attacking the mastiff. Let me just make sure I'm not doing anything wrong here. Well, I'm not doing anything wrong anyway, but let me just make sure I'm following the events right. So event 1 in Edelglen is the characters arrive, and there are 6 gnolls. There are 6 dretches. There's giant hyena. There's a Hezrau pounding on the temple door. And so the players can kind of move to whichever area they want to go help first. I think they'll probably try to help any civilians, like the giant hyena attacking the mastiff, or people attacking the commoners, like the dretches. So I feel like that is fine. I can have all that happen at the same time. Then Yeenoghu's champion is the event 2. So you have a chorus of screams rise up as people, sheep and pigs, scamper through the town, chased by a demon with the lower body of a great serpent. Yeah, this is the Marilith stat block you're going to be using. I remember this. So where's the Marilith? So I saw it before. It's up here. Yeah, the Marilith. So this is like supposed to be a 6-armed gnoll demon, but it looks like, you know, the token looks like a Marilith, so that's kind of annoying. I probably will not include this like mini boss battle here because it's not that important, and I want them to get to the big fight. So I'll probably skip this. 5 guards wielding spears advance from the north, splattered head to toe with black ichor. They gaze at you with hungry eyes. So 5 human guards are covered in ichor. Okay, so they're humans that have gone mad. That's right, and they're going to attack the group. But 5 humans, I might just have this be a part of the first thing and describe that as well. That there's guards here, but I also could skip this entirely. They're going to just there's 8 characters with Lulu and Archon. The small stuff is not. I feel like it's almost not worth the time at this point in the game, so I might just cut this out too. It gives them a little bit of a dilemma though, because do they want to kill people who are just kind of driven mad? So maybe I'll leave it in, but I might decide tomorrow, game time decision, depending on the way the first battle goes in time. So it looks like I'm going to leave that as well, because those are the people here in the GM layer. The Marilith is in the GM layer, so I can leave all of these things and kind of play it by ear as to whether or not I use them. The Barlgura is next. That is the unsettling. Oh no, the Barlgura is actually not here. That's event 5. So there's an unsettling calm event, which I am tempted to use, but again, I'm not so sure I want to, especially the way it does use it here. With everything being a ticking clock and this being a flashback sequence, it's supposed to be like a crazy swirling battle. For them to be able to take an hour to kind of talk to the cleric inside, I don't know, it just feels like a loss in the tempo. So I'm going to say no to the unsettling calm. Although I could use it, just not let them take an hour. Maybe make them take a 5-minute rest, or a breather where they just have a chance to interact with Jessa, who is the cleric of is it Lathander? Yeah, I think it's Lathander. Maybe it's not, but either way, she has a little thing to say in here and talk to the group. No, I don't think it's Lathander. Oh, it is Lathander. Yep. Yeah, it is Lathander. So, we've got a good aligned character for the group to meet and discuss things with. I'm not going to put too much stock into like her, because this is just a flashback and it's going to end quickly, but I think she is going to try to imply that the group should trust Zariel, or that she's going to pray for Zariel, hope that Zariel can come and protect them. And then Yinagu. Yeah, the renewed assault is basically Barlgura, 5 Dretches, and 6 Gnolls, and a Pack Lord. Also some Vrox. Why not? Just make this even bigger. But I'm going to combine that all with Yinagu. So Yinagu is going to come in with the Barlgura, 5 Dretches, Gnolls, and I'm going to tell the group that it's actually even a bigger force, but the ones that are on the battlefield are going to be the ones that I list. So that'll be a big combat. And I have a feeling that's going to be very hard, because the Barlgura can go invisible and can strike at somebody with advantage and maybe make a big attack there. The Gnolls, not so deadly, but I'm going to probably play them as minions. One hit will kill them. And that's Edelglin. So then Yinagu comes in, and Yinagu's tough. One of the things I'm also going to do is I'm going to print out all the stat blocks for tomorrow to have them on paper. I don't mind using Roll20, and I use it all the time for a regular game, but I don't want to have to be fumbling for that stuff. So I'm going to, even when I put it on the screen on Roll20, like if I were to put the Bulazao character sheeter, I'm sure everybody knows how to do this. I kind of learned this relatively recent, but if you were to double click on the top of the tab here, it can put it into a quick little file here that you can just kind of put wherever you want, on the DM side of it, and you can just reopen it. So it is helpful to have this, but if Roll20 has a glitch, which actually happened in the last game where I kind of got timed out, and then all these tabs that I had open for the creatures all were gone. So I'm not too trusting of Roll20 for a 6 to 7 hour session. I'm going to just print out everything and have it there. I also probably will just also write on a post-it note the main attacks, just so I don't have to go fumbling for them either, even if it's printed out, because I want it to be quick. For every combat, I think, from Edelglin to the finale, I'm going to also use average damage and try to make those decisions like quick, because I don't want to take up too much time with the creatures. Now let's take a look at Yinagu, because he's got quite some abilities. Where is he? Inagu. Does he not have? Oh, here he is. His stat block here. I mean, I've looked at all these before, but because it's the night before, I'm going to try to be as well versed as possible. Okay. So let's take a look at Inagu. All right, so 330 health. It's a lot. It's quite a lot, but I've seen my players do easily 100 damage. I mean, easily. There's 8 of them in a turn. So, even if it's, a couple of attacks from each person, a spell here or there, they're gonna do 100 damage to him each turn. He won't. Actually, don't think he'll last that long. The 3 rounds might be, Zariel might need to come in before that because he might not last on his own. But he does have some he has the Barlgura and he does have the gnolls, so I could always throw in any of the people I don't use if I feel like the fight is any of the villains, the monsters that I don't use if it's not going so well for him. But he does have a lot of legendary stuff too, so I might be okay. I might be okay. And again, I can always push it a little further because they're going to get a full heal after this. Okay, so yeah, he's got innate spell casting, mostly for, getting himself in and out of trouble. He's got teleport. He can dispel. He can go invisible. The legendary resistance is good. I knew that. Rampage, when I bring you to 0, he can make a bonus action to move. That's pretty cool, so he'll do that. And his legendary actions are charge, swat away, strength 24 saving throw. Probably not going to be made by many people. And then Savage, he can make a bite attack against each creature within 10 feet. So if you swarm him, it's probably not a good idea. But yeah, so we're going to have Inagu in there. Because they're weakened, and it's been 2 sessions, I think, since they've had a rest, he might actually end up killing somebody. It's 3 attacks, and they all do a ton of damage. Actually, not that much. 1 target hit, 1d12 plus 9. That can't be right. Inaga makes 3 flail attacks. He can cause create effect choice at random. Okay, so can deal an extra 2d12 bludgeoning damage if he chooses, or the target can be paralyzed, or the target can be confused. So it does do more damage if you want, or I can confuse somebody or paralyze somebody. Okay, good to know. All right, so Inagu's, I understand him now. I think I'm going to have him try to be really, embody chaos and attack multiple people, try to take out as many party members as possible. So once the Edelglen dream sequence is over, they're going to move on to the big battle, the finale. So let's switch over here. Again, I don't typically do all of this and looking through everything. I'm also explaining things. I feel like this is a lot. I wouldn't do this on a normal weekly session. But yeah, and also I'm not too sure exactly what's going to happen. So this is a little different than a regular session. Okay, so let's flesh out some things that I'm going to need to remember. Let's see. Let's go back to Roll20, actually. Let's go to the High Hall, see what I have there right now. Okay, so in the Cathedral, the main battle is going to take place here. I'm going to describe it as basically being. It was kind of destroyed when they first got there, earlier in the book. It's going to be even more destroyed now, basically on the verge of total collapse. During the battle, at the top of each round, and this is what I really want to write down. I think I'm going to write down this sequence here. So at the start of each round, there's going to be falling rubble, lightning from the planetar inside the companion. So let's make a new page here. All right, so final battle. Let's say top of round. let's have falling rubble and lightning strikes. All right, I'm going to have, rather than just have everybody make a save for both of these, I think the rubble will be a save, and I'm going to make it, I think Dex is appropriate. Dex save. At this point, you know, the rubble's falling all around the battle. It's going to happen every turn. I'm going to make it relatively easy to avoid. It's just going to be something that they have to be aware of, and I think I'll make it fall more in the middle rather than around the sides. So let me check the cathedral here. Whoops. Okay, so I'm going to say that if they're within the pillar area, so if they're within this big area, I'd say this is maybe the strongest supported area. So if they're inside the pillars, and I'm going to kind of be lenient about this, if they're inside these big pillars here, if they're like kind of on the outskirts of them, I might not have them make the check, but it's basically going to be, I think, a D10 damage for a piece of falling rubble. Yeah, I think that's probably fair. D10 and half to... No. If they make it, they won't take it at all. It's going to be an all or nothing type of save because I don't want to force people to have, you know, no chance of saving. It's just going to be a Dex save. And we'll make it a DC 13. And for D10 damage. Okay, and that's going to be every turn, top of the round. And then the lightning strikes. I'm going to pick... Maybe we better do a percentile check. Maybe like a 10% check for everyone. Rather than a Dex save, a 10% check and you get hit by lightning. Nah, that's too confusing. I'll make it one roll and I'll just decide. So I'll probably roll, you know, we're going to have... I'll assign a number to everyone in the battle and roll a d20. Let's see. So we've got, in this battle, we're going to have possibly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The party is 8, so that's 15. And Lulu is 17, Archon would be 18, Ravengar would be 19, Rhea would be 20. So that's what we'll do. We'll just number everyone from 1 through 20 and roll to see if they get hit. And I'll let them take a Dex save for half. And I think this lightning strike might have a stat block in the Elturel section. Let me go there. Because I believe this was brought up earlier and I kept forgetting it. Yeah, so that might be the case. It might have a stat already. Yeah, so no, it doesn't say anything here. No, I don't see anything. Unwelcome party. Torm's Bridges, the High Hall, approaching the hall, the cathedral. No, doesn't have anything here. Or at least if I am missing it, then I just don't see it. Okay, so then I'll make something here. So let's make this, if the lightning strikes from the companion, I will have a DC, this should be a little more challenging. Let's make this a DC 16 saving throw. And I don't want it to be like a lightning bolt per se, like the spell. Maybe we'll do it as a 4d6, like half a lightning bolt. And you can save for half. So 46 damage, save for half. Okay, so that's fair. So that's top of the round. So that's the environmental part of the battle. I want it to seem like it's a swirling chaos. Then we're going to have... you know, I guess if I look back at the parties here, Yeah, I guess so. What I'll do is at the start, I'm going to have to tell everyone. Yeah. So top of round action, and I'm going to have. I'll make these bold. I'm going to have clear intentions with group that we're going to use standard initiative. And the reason we're going to do standard initiative is because, how do I word this? Maybe I shouldn't tell them that you can attack whoever you. I mean, obviously you can attack whoever you want. Maybe just let it go that way. I'll just say that we're going to have standard initiative because there may be more than one side in the battle, or more than two sides in the battle, and that will be obvious if there's the demons. It would be obvious if they think about it and Bell would be the other side. They might not be expecting any of their party to turn against each other, but then that would be fun to see. So I think that I have to say at the beginning here. So clear intentions that there may be more than two sides. I'll put that first. All right, top of the round actions there. I would say that I'm going to have at least 3 rounds before CJ or Archon calls for Tiamat. If Tiamat comes, I'm going to have her break the chains. And then I'd say there's about a minute, 10 rounds, which the combat will definitely be over by then, I'm sure. Although it's a big combat, but basically it's going to be a minute before El Terrell ascends back up to the Forgotten Realms. And people are going to make decisions. Devils or demons might have to jump off. Maybe they'll want to go back up. But that'll be something that I kind of don't know what people are going to do in the group. So 1 minute before the city ascends. Okay, so that's going to be a event that's going to happen at the third round, after the third round. After 3 rounds, Archon will call for Tiamat if we feel it's necessary. Again, I'm not too sure. I've told CJ this. We kind of had a chat. I don't know if I'm going to have him do this yet, but it's going to be a game time decision, so we'll see. I also don't want to plan every single thing out because then it's going to be, maybe we won't need it. So, and then I think Zariel, if she gets redeemed, she'll fight with the players. So Zariel will fight with players alongside. So I don't get confused here. Alongside players. If redeemed, Bell will then take her forces. He'll persuade the Van Thamper and Gargoth's fighting for him, but he'll persuade Van Thamper to join him. Actually, no, Elanthius would not. So Elanthius he'll take Van Thamper. Okay, so the goal here is, this is a crazy combat. I'm not going to go out of my way to save characters, but it's the final battle. If people die, they die. But I also don't want it to feel gypped, like Zariel just basically goes up to them and drops her 3 attacks that are all going to do 40 something damage and wipe them out in turn 1. They're going to participate in the battle. So I kind of want to have all of the characters at the beginning kind of take an attack here, an attack there. Maybe a NPC will fight another NPC, which I will definitely just declare a hit or not, and the average damage, because I don't want that to take time or spend time rolling that. And so I'm going to kind of spread out the damage and give the players at least a turn to kind of figure out what side they're on, if they're going to be fighting with Zariel or not, who's going to turn in the group. So I think I'm going to have 1 turn where they get to really just feel out the combat, cast spells, that sort of thing. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'll write that down so I don't forget. Give players, and this actually should go under a category of strategy. Again, I don't normally do all this for a typical session, especially this this detailed with like the strategy, but depending on the notes, I might put in a combat encounter some specifics like this. But this is going even further because I feel like I just want to have a lot of options tomorrow. Strategy will be Zariel fight long as player is redeemed. If Bell will take the Van Thamper. Yeah, and give players 1 round before full-on fighting. If they don't turn her and she's going to fight against the players, she might take a stab at killing, the NPCs. Maybe, I don't know if I'm going to want her to kill Lulu, but she'll definitely try to kill any NPC that's fighting alongside. Maybe Raven Guard, maybe Archon. That would be good. Because if Archon gets killed, it's not such a big deal. Although I did tell CJ that if he's going to die and he can save himself, he'll teleport away. Give players 1 round for fighting. And I think Bell will turn on Zariel if she's redeemed. Or if the only other way is if she's like weak and it's a good opportunity to strike. Or if she is weak and sees the opportunity. Okay, and this is where Max will call on Eroviel to fight against the dying or weaker side. And that's referring to Bell or Zariel. He will try to kill one or the other. So he'll call on Eroviel. He'll make his call to her. And one of the things that I didn't put in the notes yet, but the Planetar that's trapped inside the companion, it can be broken by the sword. I'm going to have Bell carrying the rods, but I don't think he'll be able to, anyone will be able to really get them from him. Haven't decided exactly where they're going to be, but I could just say that Bell would not put them somewhere stupid. He might even separate them so that they cannot. And actually, this is something that if anybody knows, you can leave a comment here, because this is something I was confused about. When I first word through the adventure and was planning, earlier on, months and months ago, just casually thinking towards the end, I always thought the Planetar was also bad. I don't know why I got that opinion of the Planetar. I don't think that they mention it much, but I always thought that it was part of the whole curse of Elturel and part of that plan and deal, and it turned. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I read something wrong, but when Bell asks for those rods, there's a quest in the book where he can go get rods. Those are the keys to opening the Planetar. I always thought that he was going to unleash it. And maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago when I was planning for the Bell session, I read that he doesn't really explain to the players what his intentions are. And I couldn't find in the book where his intentions are. And then the Planetar ends up being good if it's released, and it will help free Elturel. It could break the chains. So am I just crazy? Is Bell holding on to the keys to ensure nobody else can open it? If you know the answer to this, you can post it, because I don't know. And I feel like that is something that kind of didn't just feel right to me. But I guess in theory, it does. Like the players gave him the keys, so they can't open it without the sword. If they use a sword on it, though, the sword will have a chance of breaking if it's not held by Kolgath, basically. So if Kolgath gets the sword, which he could, I think that's probably what they could do to release the Planetar. And then the Planetar could go and clear the chains out. Then we wouldn't need Tiamat. So that could be an alternate ending if they choose that. Okay, so let's put that in here. Planetar can be released with sword only, and will break chains instead of Tiamat. Okay, so those are some... Actually, these are more like events that could happen. I'm going to put this all together under strategy. We'll put /events. Okay. I think that's enough for the final battle. Other than that, I just need to print out the stat sheets for everyone and give myself some post-it notes on their basic abilities, because there are going to be like 5 CR 20 plus creatures in this, and it's going to be kind of rough to run. I mean, I've taken a look at every single one of their stat blocks. I've actually had Zariel meet the group already, so they had an encounter with her, and I used her stat blocks. So I'm familiar with the stat blocks, but I want to have them referenced because I have a feeling it could be really hectic. This is going to be a long combat, no doubt. I'm basically considering that's going to be 2+ hours, I think, the battle, but it is the final battle. And then we get to the epilogue, which is where the players can, we're gonna finish the story, which is, I guess, the options that they have in the book here to end would be if Zariel's redeemed. Let's see. Yeah, so there's 2 real endings to this book. It has to do with Zariel's fate and Elturel's fate. So if the players choose to redeem Zariel and they succeed, they have to make that persuasion check, a DC 25 persuasion check. Then she will be freed. She'll turn back into an angel. She might take her sword. She'll take her sword back. That would be one ending for Zariel. The other one would be she doesn't turn and she fights the group and perhaps dies. She could die either way, I guess. But that's the Zariel storyline. Who takes over for Avernus? That's up in the air here. So Bell, Gargoth, Max, who is our homebrewed character. He's not in the book. Hex, our tiefling. Those are all possible options for who takes over Elturel. And then, is Elturel saved? Or not, I said Elturel, I meant Avernus. Will Elturel be saved is the portion talking about the fate of the city. And Tiamat can come release it. The Planetar can come release it. In theory, the Krokektoek, which my characters had no interest in even looking into it in the scab. I tried to give it away that there's something buried beneath where the dretches were digging. I don't know if they're going to even think about that, but I'm probably not going to try to include it because it's going to be too much. And then the Planetar can come and break the chains. Those are the ways that Elturel could be freed. Or if none of those happen, if the players die, then Elturel's stuck there, and that's the kind of like the lame ending after a year playing that they don't succeed. And I know that's an option, and you have to have that possibility on the table. It would kind of suck, though, if they all died. I'm not going to pull punches in the final battle. I'm going to perhaps realistically have Zariel focus more on Bell. I'm going to have her focus more on Baphomet if he's there, because I mean they're much bigger threats in the group. So that would be the reasoning the group doesn't get squashed immediately, is the big bads are going to be hitting each other. All right, so then we get to the ultimate sacrifice, which is making a deal with Zariel to destroy a deal. Now, see, I'm not going to do any of these like silly ones at the end where it's like it's not a worthwhile ending. Like, I'm not going to have. Well, I guess I have to if Zariel wins, and a player like Hex or any of the players grovel and beg and they promise to worship Zariel or work for her, then I guess I have to do that. And I can't choose not to do it. If players want to do it, they do that. But I think that would be like the, dark ending. And that's it. So, yeah. Oh, and one thing I didn't do, and before I was about to say, well, that's it, that I'm done. I've kind of put all my notes down here. I went through everything, but I didn't decide what to do in the skill challenge or combat challenge to lead to the High Hall. So the way I have it written up here is that the easier path is going to be, not easier, I should say, but the most direct route, which is challenging, is to fight their way to High Hall. I think what I'll do is I'll have them make 6 combat attacks. Yeah, so let's go through this. This is what I want to do here. So let's get to before the finale. We'll put this here then. This will be the combat / skill challenge in Elturel. Okay. So I'm going to have it be described as it is in the book. There's, people being murdered in the street, um, devils flying, devils on the ground. It's basically a huge battle. It's a siege of the city. It's an assault on the city. And there is danger around every corner. So if they're going directly to the High Hall, so direct route to High Hall, we'll need 6 attack rolls of their choice. They can make range attacks, cantrips, definitely cantrips for the spellcasters. And I'm going to make it pretty hard. I mean, everybody's got at least like a +8 to hit. So I'm going to say that if I want these to be roughly 50-50 options, maybe even a little harder, I'm going to say DC 20 or AC, maybe make them at AC 20. Yeah, so I'll make it at AC 20. And what I want to do here is I want to make this feel more like, not a mini game, that's not the word I want, but more of like there's some nuance to this. There's some decisions to be made. It's not just roll some dice. So if they miss, and let's maybe bullet this. So let's go, yeah. If a player misses, then what they can do is expend a spell or ability that is, limited. I would allow a fighter to use their, what's it called? Second wind. I'd allow a bard to use a bardic inspiration die. Anything that is a limited resource, I would allow you to use. Can't think off the top of my head if there's any resource anybody has that is like not that important, but basically a limited resource would be fine. Maybe Paladin lay on hands. I'd say you need 10 of them for this, something like that. But if they use up a limited resource, and on the fly, I can probably come up with something reasonable if it's, like Paladin lay on hands or some other ability that's not so clear cut. I could probably just say, well, then you need 10 of that or 20 of it or all of it. I don't know. But I could think about that. But if you use a limited resource, you can add 2 to the roll. I'm going to let them know the AC, the target number, and I'm going to let them roll the dice. And if they want to spend 4 spell slots, then they could do it. I'm going to actually make spell slots, though, increase the number by the spell level. So if let's say our wizard Dobby rolls a total of a cantrip attack or something, and it goes to 16 total, then he can basically expend a 4th level spell slot to bump it up to 20 and know what he needs to get. And this will be about using resources and managing those resources before the battle. And I think that will make a simple attack roll more interesting and complex, and decisions have to be made because they know they're going into a big battle and they're not going to want to use all the spells. They might just take the damage. So the damage for failing, I think, is just going to be a D10 if they have to make 6 of these. They could, let's say somebody could fail 3, 4 of them. That'd be 4d10. That's pretty good. That's a decent amount of damage. We're talking about, 5.5, so 11 and 11, 22 damage maybe. Or, 15-ish, 16-ish to 22 damage. Math is not strong right now at 11:15 at night, but I think that's probably okay. And maybe I'll make them similar to an attack. I think a bearded devil's glaive is a D10 plus 2 or 3. So maybe we'll do a D10 plus 3 to make it have a little bit more bite. That way it's kind of deadly. And then they'll be forced to make those decisions. So D10 plus 3 damage, and there's no save against it. The whole purpose is the actual attack. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. AC 20 seems okay because they can bump up their rolls. You know, they're all pretty powerful, and there's 8 of them, so I feel like if they choose to go directly into the heart of battle, they should suffer some penalties here. So 6 attack rolls at the player's choice. If they use stealth, stealth to the catacombs, we're going to give the players 6 rolls. Sorry, not 6 rolls. We'll do 4 rolls here. 4 attack rolls they have to make of a player's choice. And I think we'll still keep AC 20. That seems to be a good number, I think, for the options. And same thing. If a player, I'm going to just keep going with this. This is basically going to be, actually, I'm just going to change the heading here. So it's going to give these options here. Well, that's not what I want. I want to make this one number 1, the option. This is the 2 option. Okay, so these are the options here. And then the third option would be cemetery first, demons to get demon allies, and that would make let's say 3 attack rolls. I was gonna maybe just go 6-4-2, but I don't know. I feel like there needs to be some scariness, so I'm gonna keep it at 3. That'll be the best one. And again, the DC is going to be 20. Okay. And then we have the option if they miss, so they can spend a resource, a limited resource, and add 2 to it, unless it's a spell that can increase by the spell slot level. And it's going to do D10 plus 3 damage for each fail. So that'll be a way that they can have to manage some resources and make some hard decisions. Then we'll go to a skill challenge. This is the combat challenge. Maybe I will just say that's the combat challenge. And here's the skill challenge. So the skill challenge, I'm going to have everyone make survival checks. I think that's a fair one to make. And this is more to, avoid falling debris, avoid, an errant fireball or something like that. So a survival check, survival or an alternative idea. I would also allow them to provide me X amount of these skills as long as they think of a reason why. If not, I'll default to survival if they can't think of something. So survival or alternative skill. I'm going to make these based on avoiding debris. Let's see. We'll also say managing. Let's see, what was the other things I thought of? Oh yeah, so maybe something with convincing some survivors to follow them or to find a safer place for them, safer locations. So, finding the location for the family or any sort of, victims here, people that are still hiding out in the Elturel streets. That will be something that they'll do. Maybe push a child out of the way of falling debris, that sort of stuff. So it's going to be something along the lines of a environmental challenge happening to the survivors here. So debris, locations, errant fireballs. Is that the right use of this word, errant? Rowdy, wayward, yeah, maybe not. Maybe we'll say stray. Stray, fireballs, and attacks. So helping people avoid damage. So again, I'm going to have everybody do 3 of these checks. This one, though, I will make them DC 15 because skill checks may not be all as powerful as an attack. So 3 checks at DC 15. And if they each success will, let's see, what bonus can I give them if they succeed on these? I don't know if I want to, maybe give them, I don't want them to always be like losing things. I want them to be some success here. Maybe we get inspiration. Yeah, inspiration for clever ideas or succeeding on all the checks. That could be something. And that would be the skill challenge, I think. I would do 3 of those checks at DC 15. But for each failure, I think I need to give them a penalty too. For each failure, you know, I think damage is probably a good idea here. Just because they would want to be weakened. Yeah, and I think I could do the same thing. I can use a limited resource to increase, you know, just pushing somebody out of the way. Maybe they use a spell to block the debris, you know, or put you. I mean, when Thunderwave a little kid in the street to be not hit by debris, Thunderwave would do more damage. But something along the lines of, you know, using Thunderwave to push the debris, or I don't know, something where the spell can help. So I will allow these ability checks to be altered the same way as these attacks. Let's see. So 3 checks at DC 15, inspiration for clever ideas, or succeeding on all the checks. And we'll say if a player misses, they can misses the DC, they can expend a spell to increase the roll. I still think I'm going to keep it at 15 because let's make it 16, because I think most people would have, if you're proficient in the skill that you're suggesting or survival, you'd have a proficiency of what, 4 or 5. So then I guess it's 4 at 11th or 12th level. So they'd probably have a 5. Yeah, I think it's 5. So then they would have +5 plus their ability. Yeah, I want these to all kind of roughly be like 50-50 decisions. So I'll say 16 inspiration. 16 DC. And they can get inspiration for clever ideas. Okay, and then they reach the High Hall, and that would be the final battle. So I'm going to just connect these 2 pieces here. Okay. I guess I made this capital. All right. And that's it. So just to review real quick, I've got my intentions for my players. I've got the flow chart. I feel like I'm flexible enough to, if they do something crazy and throw a wrench in my plans, I could go with it. I have Archon there to kind of guide them. These are the combat sides. I've got my strategy. The challenge is, so I think that's it. If I'm forgetting anything, obviously I'd be in the morning. There's still some time I can, when I'm setting up, and if I remember something tonight, I'll add it in. But we're already past an hour. I think we've been streaming for about an hour and a half, but some of that was the waiting screen. So I'd say this is good enough. An hour to an hour and 20 minutes. You know, especially because, like I said, with the finale, I wouldn't prep for an hour and 20 minutes probably the night before. But since I want to be as prepared as possible, I did this. But yeah, I think I'm pretty ready for tomorrow. Like I said, a lot of these things that I've written down here before, in the last like week, I've been thinking about these, but I really have been considering these options since, you know, I want to say like May or June. I've been just kind of like looking down the road and excited about all these things, and now it's finally coming to fruition. I think the craziest thing and the hardest part is going to be keeping them on pace so that this final battle, it's not like we get here at hour 5 or 6. That would be horrible, I think, because if we get here at hour 6, this battle is going to be at the very minimum an hour and a half to 2 hours. So that would be really annoying. That would like really take this. It would drag, and I don't want it to drag. I want it to be a really fast-paced finale. You know, really exciting to the very end. So I'm going to try to get to here at like the 4-hour mark. That would be my goal. Yeah, so I'm going to put time stamps here so that I can 45 to 60 minutes. The Citadel doors open. Yael takes them in flashback. That's not really a encounter. Then we get to Edelglin. Edelglin, I'm going to say really an hour and a half is max. Max hour and a half. So that's 90 minutes. I would like to avoid Edelglin taking more than that. And that's going to be, and then somebody will pick the sword, which, they could deliberate for a moment. That could take some time. So maybe that would be like 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. So if that takes 15 to 20 minutes, then we're looking at a total time of, let's see. Let's just say this goes to the max here, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, hour and a half, 2.5 hours. We're looking at 3 hours probably at max for this. But again, like I said, this would be like one session. So I'd be happy having a 3-hour session. Break. The break will be about 15 minutes, but I don't need to write that there. And then the plan. This might take some time. They might really want to think about this. So let's say I give them 15 to 20 minutes as well. 15 to 20 minutes. I think that's probably reasonable to formulate a plan. Might even take longer because Archon's going to be talking and everybody's going to have their input, and there's 8 players, so maybe I'm not crazy for having put 15 to 20. Maybe it could be even more. But I'm going to put 15 to 20 minutes for now. The skill combat challenge to reach High Hall, because we have so many players, I think just rolling that many dice, it's still going to take 20 minutes to a half an hour. And I also don't want to skimp on that because that's going to be the kind of the environment building. Gives them the feel of the area and the environment, a feel for the deadliness of the battle. I'm going to describe the NPCs that are being killed or how they're, the assault is going. So I'm going to definitely put that to 30 minutes, I'd say, is my estimate on the High Hall. 30 minutes. And then the final combat. So the final combat is, I'm going to put 2 hours, 2 hours plus, really. It could be, who knows how long it could be. It could end up being really long. So 2 hours plus is what I'm planning for that. So if this is 2 hours, this is 30 minutes, this is 20 minutes, we're looking at another 3-hour session. So I think that's fair to estimate, and I don't think I'm putting too much in, except the final battle is quite a bit over the top. But like I said, I'm prepared for that. I feel like I know a lot of the stat blocks of the people that are going to be in the battle, so I'm going to use average dice damage. I know my strategies. The hardest part is going to be describing, the stops in battle, like having a pause, having a conversation, trying to redeem Zariel, where that goes in. I'm going to let the players kind of dictate that. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I think we're set. I'm as prepared, I think, as I can be. I feel mentally prepared. Now it's time to be physically prepared and go to bed, so that way I can wake up early and get all of my other responsibilities out of the way and ready for this battle, this big battle. So before I sign off, I'm just going to remind everybody to, if you like this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. This is a new channel. I'm doing all this and figuring it all out, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it. I hope this insight into our finale is helpful. If you are running Descent into Avernus, please leave a comment below and let me know what you did. I'd really like to know after the fact. I'd like to read these comments and see if there's anything I could have maybe improved on or might have missed. And, if you hit the bell icon, you can get notified when any of my videos go live. I do a lot of live videos because I'm doing a lot of live plays. We're going to have a more regular schedule soon once this finale is over. I have a couple of really great ideas for different series of games on the channel, and I'm going to really dive into a lot of passion projects, things that DM advice, just general D&D content advice or content that I've been thinking of for quite some time. So there's a lot coming up in the future, and I hope you're going to stick around and go on this journey with me. So that's it for today. Have a wonderful night, and I'll see you on the tabletop.